Is this a way of depriving our young men and women an opportunity of developing a skill and remaining at the mercy of handouts? As an educator who devoted the greater part of my life in service to our children, helping them to dream big and becoming ambitious and thriving citizens of this blessed land, it breaks my heart to see the condition of the Dominica State College, where our brightest and best have to go through. You on that side have collectively failed our youth. We on this side are looking forward to saving them. Mr. Speaker, I speak now to the rehabilitation of the Bois Diab Castle-Bruce Hatton Garden Road project. Mr. Speaker, what are the reasons for the extremely slow progress? The people of Dominica, and in the East in particular, deserves answers to the hardship they face on a daily basis commuting on this road. Depreciation of our vehicles, that is accelerating. Price of fuel, astronomical. The people demand answers to this unacceptable road condition they are experiencing. And let me say, Mr. Speaker, that the cliche, this is the price of development, is totally unacceptable. The people demand answers. The rehabilitation of this road started many months ago. And by now, Mr. Speaker, we should have seen much improved road surface between Tarish Pit and Castle-Bruce at the least, Mr. Speaker. The road is now a river course. And now that we're in the rainy season, there being no drainage, driving on this road is a nightmare. Vehicles are falling apart. And on top of all of that, the astronomical costs that we have to face to maintain our vehicles and buy spare parts. In fact, Mr. Speaker, if the project was properly conceptualized, or properly costed, or properly designed, provision should have been made for the compensation to vehicle owners whose registered address is in the project area. Mr. Speaker, can I have some peace, please?
The senator is asking for protection.
And you are laughing.
No, I'm not
smiling.
laughing,
That's
smiling.
a joke.
Yes, no. You see, take it easy. Yes. Yes, allow the senator to deliver.
Mr. Speaker, the project, I say, is necessary, but the condition for motorists is unacceptable. It's unfair. Mr. Speaker, if you drive down to Castle-Bruce any time from now, you will never drive down that road again. I can tell you. Last week, Saturday, visitors, after reaching halfway, or almost halfway to Castle-Bruce, when they were told that the road was the same all the way, they returned. They returned. And so, Mr. Speaker, we are losing business because of that road. It is causing people to park their vehicles because they do not have the money to spend on the repairs. It is inconveniencing people. Mr. Speaker, it is also affecting the tourism industry because here I speak of the damage that has been done to Emerald Pool, because whenever it rains, you know the water gets cloudy and the tourists do not want to see that. They do not want to engage in that. They do not want to go in there. So we are losing business. So, Mr. Speaker, the people of the Castle-Bruce constituency and Salibia constituency need some relief regarding that road. Mr. Speaker, the Calais Bridge is compromised. Dredging is done in the river. Yes, dredging was done in the river. And some backfilling was done. Yes. But Mr. Speaker, I know that river. This river is a monster when it is swollen. And so, God forbid, we get a lot of rain and this river gets swollen. I believe, even if all the soil is placed at the foot of that bridge, it will be washed away. And possibly the bridge can be washed away as well, because it is already compromised. So I'm asking that some attention be given to that bridge, because if the bridge is washed away, the people from Toronto back to Petite Soufriere will be cut off. A government's role, Mr. Speaker, is to make life better for its people. And I know the timely and forceful intervention of the government can make a difference. Mr. Speaker, in the 2021-2022 estimates, the expenditure on the Castle Bruce Police Station for 2019-2020 was approximately, say, $75,000. But in the 2022-2023 estimates, these figures rose significantly. I'm just wondering, Mr. Speaker, why this large increase when not much work was done? Is this amount, or is the amount spent to demolish and replace the defective roof that was built by the contractor? Was that the amount that was spent? I'm just asking a question. And if yes, Mr. Speaker, why should the taxpayers pay for the defective work of the contractor? Mr. Speaker, under transparent contract arrangements, such defects must be met by the contractor. So we, the taxpayers, we need an answer. This police station has been under construction for too long now, in excess of 1 year. And it's not even a new building. Work is at a standstill right now, thus further increasing costs to us, the taxpayers, because government must continue to occupy rental property to house the police station. While there, Mr. Speaker, I will also mention that the Castle Bruce constituency needs a fire hydrant. We have the fire services there. We don't have the equipment, I don't think so, but we need a fire hydrant. Because just recently, a few months ago, we had a big fire in Saint-Sauveur where a dwelling house and shop was consumed. And the fire truck came 2 hours late. So had there been the equipment and the necessary facilities in place, maybe the family would be able to salvage something. Mr. Speaker, incompetence, waste, and poor project management and implementation continue to be on steroids under this current administration. Mr. Speaker, I am on the playing fields. I noticed, Mr. Speaker, in this budget, resources have been allocated for the rehabilitation of playing fields around the island. No mention, no specific mention. I will continue to reiterate, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the Castle Bruce playing field is one of the best on island. I have said it, and I will continue to say it. And attention, or greater attention, should be given to that playing field. In fact, I was advised by those in a position to know that it was meant to be a regional recreational facility for cricket, regional cricket, football, other hard-court sporting activities, and even capable of hosting Windward Island tournaments. Hence, the large area of land reserved for this recreational facility. Mr. Speaker, if we want to keep our youth meaningfully engaged, we need to create the avenues that will keep them away from the ills of society. Mr. Speaker, I am concerned about the youth in the Castle-Bruce constituency and Dominica on a whole. And it is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, I am calling on the Minister of Sports to ensure that the Castle-Bruce playing field is upgraded to a sporting complex to include 1, leveling and resurfacing of the grounds, 2, lighting and fencing of the facility, and 3, erecting of a stand to include sitting for players and spectators, changing room for players, and washroom facilities for both players and spectators. If we want to engage our youth, if we want to keep them focused, give them the attention that they deserve. So, Mr. Speaker, I pray that the Castle-Bruce playing field will be given the attention this financial year. Mr. Speaker, millions are being spent on housing in this country, yet many people still live on the tarpaulins and tents since Hurricane Maria. Approximately $78 million spent on housing. However, going through the communities, poor housing conditions of obviously the needy households are very visible. This suggests that enough consideration is not given to the selection and allocation process of government's housing program. Too many people who should be receiving priority under the program are sidelined. Is it that the majority who are deserving and not receiving, is it a result or a direct result of political victimization? I am left to wonder, Mr. Speaker, is there any systematic, objective mechanism in place for determining eligibility for assistance to the elderly? Why are some elderlies registered under the Yes We Care program and others are not? Why do some have a helper, caretaker assigned to them, and others with similar needs have none? Why do elderlies have to live under tents or in inhumane conditions? Mr. Speaker, large amounts are being spent on housing. Do we really care about our elderlies as we profess to be or to say? Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time I'm talking about that in this parliament, and yet nothing is being done. This quite arguably borders on abuse of incumbency. But Mr. Speaker, God tempers the wind to the shorn lamb. The day will come when these unfortunate individuals will see a better day. Because, Mr. Speaker, hunger is felt by the slave and hunger is felt by the king. Mr. Speaker, a total of $8 million for the geothermal plant. According to the estimates, millions have been spent on the proposed plant. But we are yet to have a definite date as to when electricity from this plant will reach the country's electricity power grid. Mr. Speaker, any proven and safe form of renewable energy, particularly in this heightened era of climate change, should be welcomed. However, I cannot help but remind this DLP administration that the amount in excess of $90 million spent to date in search of geothermal energy would have been more than sufficient for Dominica to realize full renewable energy independence. If only the government had listened, Mr. Speaker, to the advice of our local and regional experts, as well as held wider consultation with the people of Dominica in setting priority, or its priority for renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, will this government acknowledge that it blundered in not giving priority to solar, hydro, and wind energy instead of geothermal to meet our renewable energy needs? I know it's a huge ask, Mr. Speaker, knowing that this government only embraces advice coming from its disciples. It is really true that some men go through a forest and see no firewood. Mr. Speaker, electoral reform. $1.5 million for electoral reform in the estimates.
10 more minutes.
Last financial year, a total of $800 million was allocated, but what happened? We are hoping this time that the Electoral Commission will do its job in line of voter re-registration, issue ID voter cards, campaign finance reform, and other reasonable demands that the people of Dominica have been insisting on over the past 3 election cycles in particular. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are looking and we are waiting. Any attempt to hold another election without electoral reform would be tantamount to a provocation of the people of Dominica. Mr. Speaker, since coming into office, particularly over the last 5 years of this administration, real agricultural contributions have fallen dramatically. The refusal to undertake a deliberate policy of rural and farm access road development has prompted farmers to abandon their fields. The lack of export markets for agricultural produce has further aggravated our farmers' plight. This country has become highly dependent on imported foods to feed our people, but the problem is more severe. Increasing food prices erode real disposable incomes. This is especially true for lower income families, but when you consider the rate of food price increase, which far outstrips the rate of wage increase, it becomes obvious that middle and low income families are mostly affected. One would assume that the rising food prices would have attracted persons to get into farming, but that didn't happen. And this is putting our food security in serious jeopardy. A deliberate, conscientious partnership between the Ministry of Agriculture and the farming community must be of necessity and must include tangible support from the government. $560,000 for the banana and plantain industries. Mr. Speaker, if we are serious about reviving agriculture, that is not enough. That is not enough for the amount of work that has to be done. Feeder roads, inputs, technical assistance, financial assistance, that's not enough. Farmers need markets. They need feeder roads. They need farm access roads. On behalf of the John Zeal and Fomi farmers in the Casper's constituency, I applaud the efforts at constructing that road. However, we await, Mr. Speaker, in anticipation, the construction of Macaclean, Fraser, Tranto, Richmond, Mount Prince, Ant Hill, and 5 feeder roads. Farmers cannot go into agriculture if there are no feeder roads. Farm access, that's what we're talking about. Plantain and banana farmers, $1 million. Farmers have to cut down their stem. Bananas ripen. They cannot get sale for the bananas, for the plantain, sorry. They can't get sale. And banana farmers are leaving. They are leaving because I can mention one in Casper who has left recently because he can't take it again. Mr. Speaker, I noticed the construction of an agri-science complex at 1 Mile. Great initiative. Let's hope that it will be put to maximum use and not another coffee plant failed initiative. The economy needs it. So, Mr. Minister of Agriculture, please ensure that it becomes a successful project. Mr. Speaker, I was hoping to see in the estimate some form of support for foreign and bay oil, but I did not see that. I saw modernization, but we have to understand the people are still using the traditional way of doing their stuff. So we have to give them the benefit of it or give the support that they need. Mr. Speaker, the cries of the bay oil farmers in Petite Soufriere is deafening. There is so much bay oil in Petite Soufriere, Mr. Speaker. Plenty bay oil. That if, God forbid, one house goes up in flames, the entire community will go up in flames. They have a lot of oil. A lot of oil. So I'm calling for help, assistance for the bay oil farmers of Petite Soufriere. So, Mr. Speaker, people are demotivated. Young people have become frustrated, and they do not want to go in agriculture. We must make it exciting for them. We must give them incentives, and we must make it profitable to farm. So, Mr. Speaker, it is clear, I'm rounding up, Mr. Speaker. It is clear that this government has become numb to the needs of the people. They have become deaf to the cries of the citizens. They have become blind to the crisis facing our country. They have become mute to the abuse of the positions they hold in trust for the people. And now, when our population is screaming over pain, over crime, they are screaming in pain over crime, unemployment, poverty, high food prices, crisis in the health sector, problems with infrastructure, traffic congestion, and loss of business competitiveness. This budget does very little to directly ease the pain. Putting plasters on wounds, Mr. Speaker, the wounds of society, is causing our country to rot. The budget contains no hint of a plan to stem inflation. So the elderly, armed with $300 monthly, are definitely going to suffer, and increasingly so with each passing month as food prices continue to increase. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, that this budget has not empowered our people. It has not ensured anybody's survival except the government ministers. And it is obvious that we will not be moving onwards after this vacuous budget. Mr. Speaker, Dominicans are clinging to the opposition with enthusiastic hope. And they yearn for the day when every son of this land and every daughter of this land shall drink in rich fruition the sorrow-quenching draughts of perfect liberty. What a glorious day that will be, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Edwards.
Mr. Speaker,
proceed.
I rise to give my contribution to this budget debate. And before I start, allow me please to express my condolences to Ms. Urania Williams, who lost her brother Angus last week, Thursday, and to his extended family, the Lestrals, the Pascals, and the Williams family, and he's a friend of mine as well. He was a friend of mine as well. But Mr. Speaker, I listened very attentively to the speakers before me. I listened to the Prime Minister yesterday, and I have read through the budget, and that budget is one of the best budgets ever. Mr. Speaker, this government, we have to chronicle what this government has been through, and how often adversity has shocked this government, and how often they have revived this country. Mr. Speaker, we will recall in 2000 when this government came into office, they found an economy on life support, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, when it is on life support, you have two choices. You either pull out the plug or you resuscitate. But this government decided to resuscitate the economy. And when Mr. Honorable Douglas tells me about the early 2000s with horror, he almost wants to cry as to what this country was going through back then. And the government had to really work hard to revive this economy, because I don't know how we call it, if it was a man-made or a natural disaster. However, the economy was in really poor shape in 2000 when this government came into office. And they took action to resuscitate it. And Mr. Speaker, we have to go a little further. In 2008, there was an economic meltdown of the world. And also this affected Dominica's economy as well. And this Dominican Labour Party government had to work to revive this economy, and they did it very, very well indeed. We all could see that. And just as we thought things were getting better, in came Tropical Storm Erica, and we all know what happened to our GDP back then, and we had to relocate an entire community. Some people, too, thank you very much, sir. Some people thought it was an impossible task, but the Dominican Labour Party government knew exactly what to do. And 2 years later, Hurricane Maria, one of the biggest natural disasters ever to strike the world. Dominica was struck by a monster hurricane. And this one, correct me if I'm wrong, 220% of the GDP was destroyed, right? 26, thank you very much. And everybody thought that this task was a totally impossible task. But the Dominican Labour Party government went straight to work immediately. The Prime Minister left Dominica in wet clothes, I was told, went to New York and lobbied and got it through, and this government, as you can see, any other country would still be in shambles, but this government has brought back Dominica well from this country. So, Mr. Speaker, when I look at this budget, I am very confident that we are moving forward. We are moving forward, and Dominica will be developing better and better as we go by. And I'm at the Ministry of Health, as you know, and health has been struck a hard blow because not only Maria, a pandemic named COVID-19 also struck the world during that time. And who again? The Dominican Labour Party government was tasked to run Dominica forward from this pandemic. And measures had to be put in place, Mr. Speaker, to have our people staying away from this pandemic. We had to house the people that were infected in Portsmouth, as you know, at a cost. We had to import medicines, and we were the first country, by the way, to receive vaccines in the entire Caribbean. And the Dominican government, Mr. Speaker, embarked on a health rehabilitation, on a health expedition to make sure that the Dominican people are healthy. We know that housing is already providing them with a good standard of living, but the quality of life have to also come into play. That's why government of Dominica is putting so much emphasis on the health sector. And infrastructure is part of the health sector, Mr. Speaker. And you know of the health centers that were built in Dominica. As we speak presently, Coliho is commissioned and is in use. We also have the Doris Musgrave at Marigot, is in use. We know of the Douglas one at Georgetown in Portsmouth is in use. And the Murphy, yes, and the Murphy in Maho, Murphy Esprit in Maho was commissioned and is in use. But Mr. Speaker, the Newton, Penville, Ansdime, Soufriere, and Bacatel are completed, but not yet have been commissioned, but they are still they're in use now as we speak. And the people now are using them, and healthcare is on the rise. Mr. Speaker, the Marigot Hospital, as you know, has been completed during that time, and the equipment for the hospital are now being placed. And very soon we're going to be seeing the commissioning of the Marigot Hospital, a new hospital to serve Dominica, not only Marigot, because I'm sure that there could be a time when the hospital at Dominica China Friendship Hospital might need some help, or a person from the La Plaine constituency may be admitted in Marigot. Somebody from Calibishi or Casibros. So the Marigot Hospital is going to be a Dominican hospital to help Dominicans on a whole. And this hospital was constructed with funds, as you know, from the CBI. Mr. Speaker, there's also a new health center being built, health and wellness center being built at Savonpai. At Savonpai, Mr. Speaker. And not only that, we take our infrastructure very seriously in the Ministry of Health. We are renovating those that are due for renovation in Trafalgar, Massac, Salisbury, and Saint-Sauveur, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, new health centers will be constructed in the St. Joseph and in Roseau. And Grand Fond as well. Grand Fond was done for renovation, but the Minister of Health decided he wants a new health center in Grand Fond. And Parrep and Mr. Minister worked in tandem, and Grand Fond is going to receive a brand new health center. Mr. Speaker, infrastructure is part of it, but we also must equip our new place, our new hospitals. And we know of the new MRI machine that was commissioned last year at the Princess Margaret House, at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. And MRI was a procedure that was being done for Dominicans overseas. I know many people in Dominica who had to travel to Antigua, to St. Lucia, to Barbados, to do MRI. This is the thing of the past now. It is being done in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, you know of the HIFU, and you heard yesterday from the Prime Minister. It's in use, and I heard him say that some people were laughing when they were talking about HIFU. It seemed like something in science fiction movies. No, it's reality. It's at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. Mr. Speaker, we branch out to ophthalmology. There is a new clinic for ophthalmology, and it is a world-class center. It is located on the same compound from the Brenda Strafford Foundation, and it is well equipped with all the modern facilities needed for eye care. And any Caribbean country, anywhere in the Caribbean who wants to come, anybody who wants to come to have the eye checked can come to Dominica to check it. As a matter of fact, it will be a center of excellence for eye care. So Dominicans are fortunate to have a government with that foresight and that vision to have them a Brenda Strafford Foundation and that eye clinic and I heard Dr. who? Ricketts, yes. She endorsed it. She said it is a great thing. And Mr. Speaker, the human resource, as you know, is an integral part of any healthcare system. And therefore, the Dominica Labour Party government has gotten help in specialists. There are 4 specialists from the People's Republic of China now at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. And upon departure, they will be replaced by 4 other specialists, Mr. Speaker. And you know of the Cuban collaborators, we recently received from them nurses, pharmacists. In fact, there are 2 nurses from the Cuban Brigade in my constituency, now in La Plaine, working in the La Plaine Health District. And the Ministry of Health has taken a decision to put 2 medical doctors in each health district in Dominica. So it will allow the flow of healthcare. And no longer will you have 1 doctor working and next week she's off. No, 1 doctor is off this week, another one comes on next week, and the people of the communities island-wide can access healthcare anytime, 24/7. If you're sick in La Plaine or you're sick in Salisbury, you call the nurse come at your home 1 o'clock in the morning, you are brought to the health center at 1 a.m., the doctor is called, and you are seen. If you are to be transported, the ambulance is available. So healthcare in Dominica is an envy of most Caribbean countries, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Dominica government had a very good foresight. You heard of the new authority, Dominica Hospital Authority, who is now responsible for the hospitals in Dominica, both hospitals, the Marigot Hospital and the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. This is a new initiative where the Minister of Health will expound on that when he's giving his presentation, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we in Dominica are to sit and look at what we have, and we should boast for other people when we talk about our country. Boast to them and tell them Dominica healthcare system is by far one of the best in the Caribbean. And Mr. Speaker, primary healthcare is on the move as well. Community health aides. The community health is now on contract, and they are being used island-wide. These are the foot soldiers. These are the people who go out to the communities, who meet the people at their homes, who check their blood sugar, who check their foot care, and have them to come to the health center for further attention. When the doctor is busy at the health center, the nurses at the health center, the health aides go out there and meet people on the ground and initiate treatment. Because let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, you can diagnose quite a few people by going out to their homes and bringing them to the health center, Mr. Speaker. And these people in the future might well be absorbed into the system. You never know, Mr. Speaker. And additional environmental health officers were employed, Mr. Speaker. As you know, we had the COVID-19, especially in port health. And I think, Mr. Speaker, some new positions are going to be created for environmental health. Because health is not only doctors and nurses and pharmacists. You have environmental health, you've got lab technicians. It's a team effort to bring people to good health. And the Dominican government is taking care of every facet of that. Environmental health, lab technicians, pharmacists, doctors, nurses, radiologists, just name it, because we know that a healthy nation brings a wealthy nation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know of the Maho district is now going to be reconfigured, Mr. Speaker. Maho is going to be made a new health district in Dominica. Because Maho is a very populated area, and they were being served by the Roseau Health District for quite a few years. You have Maho, Kenfield, Wana, Campbell, all these people are going to put in their health district. So, Honorable Blackmore, Maho is going to have its own health district. No longer will you be served by the Roseau Health District. There will be a doctor resident in Maho, a nursing resident in Maho, to serve your new Maho Health Center, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, at the Ministry of Health, we know that NCDs are the biggest killers in Dominica and indeed the world. And we have really declared a robust and sustained attack on NCDs. And we are going all out to fight NCDs. So hence that we have a new thrust going forward that we are going to put a lot of emphasis on the NCDs. We are going out there to educate these people, educate our Dominican people. The health promotion unit will be combining with the health district. We're going to educate people, and we want the people to use the health and wellness centers. You don't necessarily have to be sick to go to there. You could be passing down the road, pop in the health center, check your blood pressure. Because we want to go on a prevention drive. We no longer want to have people, when they are sick, brought to the health center, and by the time you transfer them to the Dominica China Friendship Hospital, it's time for amputation. So now we are going on a nutritional drive, exercise, all healthy habits. We are going to have our health promotion work with us and have these things all over Dominica, because we know it's NCDs, heart disease, diabetes. These things have to be, they have to be arrested. They have to be arrested. Because you know, younger and younger people are now being affected by these diseases. And we cannot afford this to happen in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And you know of the HARTS program that was established, that was launched, in May this year. And this HART program is an integral part of the NCD's fight and the primary health care in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, the budget, there are so many good things in this budget. Time will not permit me to highlight. But I single out agriculture, because La Plaine district and La Plaine constituency, indeed the entire East, agriculture is the lifeline of the people there. And I'm looking at what I'm seeing in this agriculture, in Dominica agriculture in this financial year upcoming, and I'm very happy that the La Plaine people will be benefiting. So I'm asking the La Plaine farmers to put themselves forward, to have themselves available, to work with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade, that we could work together to make our agriculture better, and there are benefits there. And as I'm on that now, there are two There are 2 farm access roads being built in Lapin as we speak. The Agricultural Station Access Road and the Guan River Access Road. And the farmers there are very happy because these roads there were battered by Hurricane Maria. They were flooded and they were damaged. But now, if you look at this road, I mean, it's a highway. 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 It's a complete road. Some people are even saying this road is, oh, that's too good for the no. We need farm access road of high quality. Yes. Mr. Speaker. That's it. And I'm happy that DEXA and Ministry of Trade is going to work together with the Ministry of Agriculture to have our farmers get markets for their produce. You know we are high production of plantain and bananas, bay oil, toluma, and furin in Lapin constituency. And we are looking forward, Mr. Douglas, to all these benefits that have been put in place for us for agriculture. And when I look at the infrastructure part of it, Mr. Speaker, I noticed that the Boetica is going to be receiving a new water supply. And I'm very happy. As you know, water is everybody needs water. There is no life without water. And the Boetica supply was being taken from the heights of Boetica, and it was deemed very dangerous. And as a result, the project was stopped. So now they're going on another drive to get another area to build the Boetica water supply. And the Ministry of Public Works will be championing that, and I'm very happy. Like I said, Mr. Speaker, there are so many good things happening in this budget. Time will not permit me to go through it. But Dominica is on the right track, and the Lapin constituency is on the right track, Mr. Speaker. The social programs are right there in Lapin. All social programs are high up in Lapin. The Lapin constituency, as you know, is a constituency of resilient people. They are very strong people, and they work hard, and the Dominica government is in tandem with them, is helping them on their way. And the NEP, Mr. Speaker, is employing quite a few people. As a matter of fact, $109,000 is paid every month in NEP wages in the Lapin constituency. That's employment for people. People could get their monies, they could go to the shops, they could buy what they want for the children, otherwise they would have been unemployed. You know the elderly and the Yes We Care program, this is alive and well in the Lapin constituency. Every elderly that is eligible for the over 70 is being placed on the over 70 in Lapin. Every elderly person who needs help gets help in the Lapin constituency under the Yes We Care program. There is no discrimination, all and sundry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the last financial year, the Lapin Primary School was fenced for the safety of the students and the staff, Mr. Speaker. There is a brand new toluma processing plant in Dalis that is completed and just ready to start processing toluma. So no longer will each individual be going to the small platines and them to do the toluma. There will be a central area where you could come, you could process your toluma, and you could dry it there. Manufacturing, small manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, you know of the new bay oil distillery that was, and it is now in use. It is being used every day. I have never passed there when there is not bay oil being processed and manufactured at this bay oil in the Lapin constituency. I have already mentioned the farm access roads. And as we speak now, presently, the Lapin playing field is now being rehabilitated. A brand new basketball court with tennis court on it, and they're going to be lighted as well. The lights are already on island, and this playing field was fenced earlier this year. And not only will we be doing the basketball court and the playing field and the lighting, the changing rooms and the building is going to be renovated as well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, housing is a main part of this government, and this government has taken housing in the Lapin constituency very seriously, and island-wide, I might add. Because as you know, there were 66 apartments built in Dalis and 66 built in Lapin. And not only did the government do that, individual homes were built for several people. I can count because there are so many people who receive new homes and renovation. And in this, as we speak now, there are 12 homes being built in the Lapin constituency, individual homes, with 2 people already at their homes with their kids, and the others are more than 80-90% complete. So I'm thanking the Ministry of Housing again for seeing the Lapland constituency in the housing. And there will be more as time goes along, because we know the Dominica government is embarking on to house all the people in good housing. The Prime Minister has said everybody deserves the exact same house. The same house that I have, the same as anybody in the constituency deserves. And we are going to do just that. And the future housing program, as you know, is a part of that. It is now beginning at the area in Portsmouth and Warner. It will be spread island-wide eventually. And the young people of Lapland are looking forward to that, and young people of the constituency. Mr. Speaker, the Daly's playing field was approved for renovation under the Basic Needs Trust Fund. And the officials there had already come to the community and held meetings with the community leaders as to going forward. And what we had held free meetings, in fact, with the community leaders, the councillors, prominent people in the community, and speak to them as to how, because as you know, the government does not want to just enter a community and start a project. What we do, we engage the people first, and then we move forward after together. And Mr. Speaker, the Delicis Youth Center, that's an area where it was used in the past for the council's office as a youth skills training area, for public, for meetings in the area. And it is done in this financial year for renovation. And very soon, in this calendar year, we are going to do the demolition first, and then to begin a brand new Daly's Youth Center. So the people of Daly's are looking forward to that, and I'm sure they'll be very happy for that, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, that's right.
Mr. Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, youth empowerment. And having said that, there's a young farmers group in Lapland, and this young farmers group, they're very vibrant. They work together, they move together. They were taken to the Chinese place in Portsmouth, and the Chinese came to Lapland to visit them. And what they do, they work together. If one member of this group get a sales for, let's say, cucumber, and he doesn't have enough, he puts on the group chat who has, and it's a marketing tool as well. And yes, and they're going to get youth empowerment in that. And Mr. Speaker, also the Daly's police station is nearing completion. This police station was devastated by Hurricane Maria, and is now under renovation. And very soon, Daly's will have a brand new police station to house the police, as it is now.
7 more minutes.
Yes, they're renting a place. And earlier this year, and sometime last year, some work was done on the Daly's Spirit Savon Road. And the Daly's Spirit Savon Road will be given attention this year, because we know the importance of that road. I know the importance, and we all know it is a good artery into Roseau, and the people from Bacatel and these areas coming to sell their fish. So for the people of Daly's listening, I know that we are going to do some work and to complement what was done. It's just a matter of putting the engineers and the people put everything in place, the technical work to be done for us to continue going forward with this Daly's Spirit Savon Road, because we know the importance of it. And the Dominican Labour Party government always take these things very seriously. Mr. Speaker, as I wind down, I'm just asking the work. Government will continue to work. It will not be distracted. We are not going to be disturbed. We are moving forward to work for Dominica and Dominicans, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Yes, Senator Joseph.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Good afternoon.
Mr. Speaker, I want to start my presentation by giving thanks to the Almighty for all his blessings and for strength to continue to stand firm for justice, for equality, for the oppressed. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I'd like to quote Micah chapter 6, verse 8. He has told us, O man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly before your God. End of quote. Mr. Speaker, I listened avidly to the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Honorable Philip Davis, and he was speaking at the 43rd CARICOM meeting, Conference of Heads of Government meeting. And he said, and with your permission, I'll quote, under the effective leadership of Secretary General Barnett, let us harness the expertise of our Secretariat to move forward together. With our vision restored and our courage firmly bound, we in this region, can achieve great things. We can lift our people out of poverty. We can facilitate the generation of wealth and opportunity. And most of all, we can ensure our survival long into the future. End of quote. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to endorse this statement by the most esteemed Prime Minister and say too that we in Dominica can achieve great things. We can lift our people out of poverty. And like the United Workers' Party always reiterates in their manifestos, to make Dominica the best place to live, the best place to work, and the best place to enjoy life. So therefore, the budget for the fiscal year 2022-2023 is expected to do just that. Let us hope so. When I wrote that, I had not seen it, so let us hope so. But from what I heard, it is not so. Mr. Speaker, in reviewing the sparse information contained in the estimates, we on this side of the House are not given much to work with. However, we always rise to the occasion. Mr. Speaker, I heard my parliamentary representative speak just a while ago. But isn't he? And as a constituent, I am not happy. I'm very disappointed. Yes, it is. I am happy for the farmers of La Plaine who have gotten the feeder roads. I am happy for the Boetica water supply. But, Mr. Speaker, I am not happy that I am hearing about the Daly Stupidity 7 road, but I don't think I saw any budgetary allocation for it in the estimates. That is what we want to see. When you allocate for it, you can speak about it, but if it is not there, how is it going to be done? Mr. Speaker, the opening of the Daly Stupidity 7 road would contribute significantly by creating the linkages, thereby increasing the access of goods and services located in nearby villages. We're talking, Daly is not a fishing community, so we always relied on Bagatelle, on Font Saint-Jean for fish, Petite Savannah as well. Residents would enjoy fresh fish very often. Now today, they have to go right around the island. By the time they arrive, the fish is already not fit to eat. So you have loss of the fisher folk as well as the vendors themselves are losing. Mr. Speaker, also greater access to education at road would assist with, because we have our children who leave to go to the Goodwill Secondary School. They're on the afternoon shift and they leave about 11 o'clock. And when a child leaves daily at 11 o'clock and they're going to town, Mr. Speaker, they're already tired when they arrive. Now, I saw some allocation for the Goodwill Secondary School, and I hope that it can happen, because we've heard about it before and it has not happened. So I hope this time it is going to happen, because the government vision is restored, and they have seen the light, and they are seeing that things that we have been talking about for so long needs to be done, so now they're going to do it. So all well and good. Now, Mr. Speaker, they are great suffer because they are tired when for the bus about 5 o'clock. By the time it's 6:30, they arrive in the community and they're already too tired to do on any work. So we have that area as well is being affected for the lack of the PD7 road. Now, I know Singola Blomquist, the lawyer, and a lot of people from the Dalis community worked on the road. They did a lot of work on the road, and we want to commend them for that. The people of PD7 joined as well to work. The ability of our people to return to normalcy after a hurricane as well is important because, you know, exit and access into a community is of paramount importance when you're talking about resiliency of a country and less vulnerable people. So this is hampered when there is no access to and from the communities. And the people are more vulnerable since the capacity to respond in a timely manner becomes an issue. So to reduce these vulnerabilities, we have to take concrete action, and prevention is better than cure. Well, prevention, when we do preventative measures, it takes less money to respond when a situation arises. Mr. Speaker, Fortoma playing field. I heard the parliamentary representative talk about finally, I hope. But I saw, and it said it's a BNTF project, but I don't know if it is on the estimates. I'm not sure that I saw it. I was looking. The people want to know when this facility will receive attention. As he said, it will receive attention, so we're holding him up to that. And so the young people can have an avenue for their recreational activities. We want the young people of the area not to be shortchanged and take advantage of opportunities available in sports. Mr. Speaker, we have the apartment buildings, and I know we love to talk about the apartments, and that is a good thing for the people they have housing. Recreation facilities for the people in the apartment, we need that. When you're planning those developments, Mr. Speaker, it has to be planned properly. And we talk about the basketball court overlooking the cemeteries in a sorry state. They do not have the Fortoma playing field. They do not have facilities at the apartment. What it is that they do, they play on the road, right? And when that happens, you know, accidents and everything else. So we have to prevent our people. We need to give them the space that they need. Mr. Speaker, there's also a hurricane shelter on the ground floor of the apartment. And history of disasters in Dominica, we have the pre-impact information because we have had disasters for a very long time, and we know what can happen to us when it rains. We have flooding, we have flash flooding and all that. Mr. Speaker, we also need water tanks in the apartment building. They also need water tanks in case. We always have to prepare for the worst case scenario because we know what hurricane, we do not want it to happen, but if it does happen, we will be ready for it. In order to reduce the vulnerabilities of these people who are living in the apartments. Mr. Speaker, another area in the constituency needed much attention is the bridge between La Roche and Carib, 2 hamlets in Dalis, that's between that area. Apart from the dilapidated nature of the bridge itself, the railings are falling apart, there is no lighting in the area, and it makes it very, very risky for both motorists and pedestrians. If you're not familiar with the area, you will have problem navigating on that bridge. So attention, and the parliamentary representative member for La Plaine is here, pay attention to that bridge. It needs work done, and it's a lighting in the area. Mr. Speaker, I saw $500,000 allocated for the renovation of youth centers. And I'm hearing that the member for La Plaine says that Dalis Youth Center is part of it. I am forever grateful. This building has been utilized as a multi-purpose venue. And Mr. Speaker, I remember when first that youth center was constructed, I was a youth officer at the time, and organized and coordinated the first ever youth skills training program in that area in construction. And it has been utilized as a hurricane shelter, as a village council's office, community center, and everything else for the community. And it's been too long, Mr. Speaker. I see an amount of $224,200 made available for youth skills for economic growth. And youth skills program, that is not enough. If I would give $1 million to that effect because our young people need that kind of skill. And we know what the youth skills training program has been to Dominica. Because a number of the youths we have now who went through the youth skills training program are they themselves small artisans and contractors, small contractors themselves. Mr. Speaker, so we want to make provisions for the implementations of youth skills training module or modules in the La Plaine area for our young people. This program reached the length and breadth of the island, identifying and prioritizing the needs of the youth. The availability of local resources was identified, employment opportunities created. We also had remedial classes that was provided by the Adult Education Division for those who needed that upgrade. Some members of the community, Mr. Speaker, I want to specifically mention Glorin Simon Joseph, has been trying to set up a library in the community, but due to lack of assistance, financial and otherwise, it had to be put on hold. Mr. Speaker, the benefits of these safe places cannot be overemphasized. A centralized hub for resources and the development of our most important resource, our people, not just in Daly's, but in La Plaine as well. The complex building in La Plaine in the middle of the community is a big eyesore, Mr. Speaker. That's where you had court, and that's where you had the village council's office. That's where you had community centers, you had library. Everything was housed in that multipurpose complex. Did I hear the minister, the member for La Plaine speak about that? I don't think I did. This facility can be transformed in so many uses. Let us stop talking about a beautiful budget in front of us and talk about what is needful. It doesn't hurt to say, I need that for my constituency. The people would love to hear you speak on behalf of them and tell them you need that for their constituency. Mr. Speaker, we have an aging population and we need to ensure that they all receive the best of care. I saw $286,863 for strengthening of national capacities to better support people living in poverty and vulnerable groups. We have the House of Hope in Daly's, Mr. Speaker. It could be restructured, expanded into a care facility for the aged. Our people sometimes wait too long for space at the Dominica Infirmary, not because they do not want to, but because there is no space allocation for them. And if this place is developed, it would work as for the entire Southeast. It would create employment. So you have people from Grandfont to Daly's would be housed at the House of Hope in Daly's. You create employment as well in the rural economy, developing, Mr. Speaker, the rural economy. We heard about the feeder roads in La Plaine, much relief for the farmers, but we also have Bellevue, we have Belvedere, we have other feeder roads that need attention as well in the communities that needs to be given attention because we have farmers who are suffering in these areas. Developing of the banana and plantain industry, an allocation of $500,000, Mr. Speaker. Developing what way? Because we still hear the cries of the plantain farmers in the La Plaine area. I mean, I don't know about the others, but I know. And all around Dominica, for that matter, they tell you the plantain is left to ripen in the field. There is no market. And they tell you, miss, do you want a bunch of plantains? And just go and pick it up. This is the kind of thing that you hear. I met a young man who told me he had to cut it down because he's just not selling, and he had to plant cane instead. The promotion of decent work in the rural economy, Mr. Speaker, is key to eradicating poverty. We can have all the infrastructure, and I heard the member said, infrastructure, we take infrastructure very seriously. But let us take people's lives as seriously as we take infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. Because we can have the infrastructure, but our people are not resilient, nothing is going to work for us. And we ban the word resilience and modernization all over the place. Let us just stop using words that we're just using words for, and let us make it happen for the people who are suffering in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we want decent and productive jobs which will contribute to the sustainable development and economic growth. So we talk about the cost of living, the cost of food items. The people of Dominica, the people in La Plaine area, they need a much needed break. And I do not see this budget giving these people a much needed break. The people who see the very good thing in the budget are people whose pockets are full. It will not bother them. Right? The 3-day investment forum expo under the theme Investing 25 by 2025, cutting the food import bill at 25%, Mr. Speaker, reflect the region's goal to reduce $6 billion food import bill by 25%. And the Caribbean Development Bank president Dr. Jean Leon, recently said that according to the World Bank estimates, between 80 and 90% of all food consumed in the region comes from abroad. Mr. Speaker, 80 to 90%. And only 3 Caribbean countries, Guyana, Belize, and Haiti, produce more than 50% of their own food. Mr. Speaker, we are in a land of water, of soil. God has blessed us with all the natural resources we need. We should be part of that team. 50% of our food, we should be able to produce it. Mr. Speaker, we heard of modernization of traditional crops, cassava, toloma, bay leaf processing, herbs and spices, and $500,000 in this fiscal year. I show Mr. Augustine John Baptiste and Babel Ridge flat of Dailies with a cassava plant. Must be happy because he's been waiting with bated breath for help in this respect and to make work lighter, to make it easier, to work smarter. That is what the modernization should do, to make work smarter, not harder, and produce more. And we also need, when you're talking about modernization, we also need sales, market sales. We need to be able to sell. Because having 20 bottles of bay oil under your bed, having 10 bags of toloma under your bed, having 10 bags of ferrin under your bed does nothing for you, the farmer, other than frustrate you. So yes, you produce it, but you also want to sell it. We also want to sell it. So this is what we need to do. As the Minister of Trade, we heard nothing remarketing of our produce. What we heard, a refrigerated container that has been recurring decimal for how many budgets now, Mr. Speaker? Refrigerated container, every time we hear the same thing over and over again. Make it happen, then we will believe what you're telling us. Until then, we are very skeptical that it is going to happen. Mr. Speaker, we also have the Bwetika Old School. We have a shelter in Bwetika. It's the sewing shop. It's very, very small, Mr. Speaker. Cannot accommodate a few people. And we're talking about developing that school that is there, that stone building, which is very strong, to develop it into multi-purpose areas, a shelter, community center, everything, training agency, all that can be done. Mr. Speaker, in the estimates, a number of bridges were mentioned. And let me call, I saw Repair to Layu Bridge, Emzol Bridge, Balthazar Bridge. And when we came to Manikou River Bridge, I kind of was happy because I said, maybe they're changing the name of Bwetika Bridge to the Manikou Bridge. So I was looking closely to see, but I realized that's not so. So the Manikou Bridge, River Bridge is the Manikou River Bridge, but Bwetika Bridge. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you have ever crossed on this bridge. Mr. Speaker, you have to have the heart to do it because it is scary, and especially when it rains, because we are between a valley. And when it rains, you have gravel or little stones coming down. Mr. Speaker, we need to pay urgent attention to the repair, renovation, repair of this bridge. Not even repair because it's a Bailey bridge. A brand new bridge for the people of that area. Mr. Speaker, there are very much concerns. The people are scared. You have a gas station in Dailies, and the big truck carrying the fuel cannot cross the bridge, so they have to get a smaller truck to carry. Now, when a smaller truck goes in, there's not much fuel it can hold. So more often than not, there is no fuel for the community, for the people of the community. Right? So, Mr. Speaker, you also have, I saw they were trying to fix the road in Bwetika, and the transport came with the material. They had to stay across the bridge, and a smaller truck had to take and transport it across the bridge for the people. Mr. Speaker, the people of that area cannot be out of the grid of GRID, when it comes to the resources of the state. We hear a beautiful budget, the budget good, it have everything. You don't have everything in it. It haven't got everything. When you have a bridge, the people are afraid of crossing. It cannot be. It cannot be you have one exit and entrance into a community. When you go in, you like rainstorm, you cannot go out if something happen. In the dry season, we had the river overflowed banks in Rosalie. People were stopped. They have nowhere to go, Mr. Speaker. And we're talking about preventative, and we're talking about disaster management, and we're talking about resiliency. This is what that makes people resilient, Mr. Speaker. To provide the basic necessities for them that they can live comfortably. Mr. Speaker, we can work together, the Pal Rep and myself. Let us work to get much needed help for the people. I've already said that I don't care who does it as long as the work is done and the people are happy. We're good. Mr. Speaker, tourism is also something that we need to do. We have some sites in the communities. We have the Victoria Falls, we have Glassy, we have Sari Sari. We need these areas developed.
10 more minutes.
Because we need part of the, my minute going faster, man. Well, Mr. Speaker, I was happy that the Toloma people in Daly, Toloma women farmers got help. I was privileged to help them design the project proposal for UNDP, Mr. Speaker. And when they met me, they were very grateful for the assistance that were given to help to develop the proposal where they got the money. So I'm happy that UNDP helped them with the Jeff Small Grants Program, assisting them. Mr. Speaker, we are 1 month gone into the hurricane season, and we have been told by the experts that it is going to be a very and above average season. And we have experienced all kinds of predictions that become realities before, Mr. Speaker, from active to non-active. Ask us, we have experienced it all. And we have what you call regional shelters now. So, Mr. Speaker, it calls for more training for your shelter managers or shelter staff, because more people are coming from different communities. Therefore, the operations of the shelters is a massive undertaking. Mr. Speaker, I am suggesting today in this honorable house that a stipend be paid to the shelter managers and their staff to help them, to motivate them, because you're talking about a shelter to house 500, 800 people, right? So this is something that we can use. While they use the shelteries to volunteer, but they have a lot of work to do as shelter managers. So I am proposing that some form of stipend be given to these shelter managers and their staff. Mr. Speaker, I see $100,000 for the modernization of disaster management system and services. I hope that would include early warning systems, so we get information before the event occurs. We have the technical equipment, because last time I was there, I asked the question that it was unequivocal, yes, 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 we have everything. So I am saying today that we have everything. And the mechanisms are in place, training is in place, the Office of Disaster Management is fully equipped. The community disaster committees are in place, and they are not infiltrated by parliamentary representatives. And they allow the committees of the people who are in the communities who want to work to do their work. The comprehensive disaster legislation is in place as well. It has been approved by Cabinet. I am saying that because when I asked those questions the last time, I was told yes, they were. So I am saying with a fact that it is so. But I know that it is not so, Mr. Speaker. Simulation exercises are developed and implemented to constantly rehearse and test the plans. That is important, Mr. Speaker. So when something happens, I'm not saying that we may not lose lives, I hope that we would not, but we are prepared for any eventualities. We talk about risk assessment, Mr. Speaker, risk analysis, vulnerability assessment, all that needs to be done in the communities to ensure that we have that in place and adequate funding is made available for these areas. We also need to improve the capabilities of disaster and emergency personnel. Now, these events, not just hurricane, may affect us, as you know, Mr. Speaker. We have other adverse events. We remember, as we went in search for young Kenisha, that other things can happen. So we need proper equipment for search and rescue. We need timelines to ensure that these are put in place. And so the Ministry of National Security, I'm sure, has made provisions for training, and more training for specialized fields. Mr. Speaker, I speak to a phenomenon now that all of us have been grappling with, and this is the area of child abuse. Now, Mr. Speaker, the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child, which we ratified in 1991, gave due consideration to child care, and we look at the 4 core principles, which is non-discrimination, devotion to the best interests of the child, the right to life, survival and development. And we have recent statistics by the Welfare Division, Mr. Speaker, that tells us that child abuse cases are on the rise, and it is rising at an alarming rate. And as usual, sexual abuse takes precedence over everything. And Mr. Speaker, and the abuse is always by a friend, a family member, and and there are also unreported cases as well. These are just reported cases. And this serious and horrendous crime against our nation's children, Mr. Speaker, calls for urgent action by all of us. This affront to humanity, Mr. Speaker, and the dignity of an innocent child must stop. And when children as young as 2 and 5-year-old are violated, then we know that we have reached crisis level in this country, Mr. Speaker, and something needs to be done urgently. The inordinate delay in bringing these perpetrators to justice allows an environment where our children can be abused and the abuser face little or no consequences, Mr. Speaker. Are they not tortured by the very system that is supposed to protect them, Mr. Speaker? Are the authorities serious about juvenile justice and the provision of a safe haven for our children? We condemn all forms of violence against our children, and we call to put in place a family division of the court, which would allow for due process to be expedited in matters pertaining to child care and child protection. It would eliminate the number of cases that have been left languishing for so long, Mr. Speaker, and we hope that there is not an abuse of incumbency, Mr. Speaker. Is there constant targeted victimization of the citizens? And when the resources of the state are equitably distributed, are they equitably distributed? Or are the resources given to some people while a few left in dire need? Mr. Speaker, I hope to God that it is not so. We know this impact, what it can have on people, and it can further compound the already volatile situation of child abuse, Mr. Speaker, where parents are unable to provide for their children. Mr. Speaker, we hear that the laws in this country against this child abuse are very stringent. And so, Mr. Speaker, the laws will not enforce themselves. They have to be enforced. The laws are relatively adequate, but implementation has always been an issue for us. Is there the political will to do so? Let us stop saying that all is well and we're doing our best. Well, Mr. Speaker, our best is not good enough. All members of this august body must stand up and be counted, and together let us put the necessary measures in place. I therefore propose the House to set up a subcommittee or a subgrouping to concentrate on establishing the family division within our courts. The Office of the Chief Justice of the OECS, Mr. Speaker, is ready to roll it out in the OECS. It was rolled out as a pilot project in Antigua not too very long ago, Mr. Speaker. And Chief Justice Pereira said, and I want to quote her, "We have in fact trained about 50 persons in specialized areas, mediation, counseling, piloted in Antigua, one of the states most advanced with the modernization of family laws." Mr. Speaker, we call on every individual to report cases of child abuse. Keeping silent to protect the individual and the institution will further exacerbate the situation. Silence is not an option, Mr. Speaker. We call on everybody here to stand up because these are cases, affect all of us, if not your personal child, but somebody you know. It doesn't have to be somebody you know, is a Dominican child and child of our people. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to make one final comment as I close, because we have so many issues that we need to take care of. And we say we don't have the money, but I know we have it. But here is where we can get saving. Mr. Speaker, I call to cut down the number of ministers of government by 50%. There we can save a whole lot of money that we can put into good use, Mr. Speaker. Because when a minister will stand up in the Honorable House, Mr. Speaker, and tell you that you do not need to tender for projects, you don't need a minister need to go. The minister needs to go. You have to tender. Just put a little drawing in place, man, and you can bring and good to go. Mr. Speaker, value for money. Where is transparency? And Mr. Speaker, I want to say a big thank you to the Director of Audit and Staff. Big thank you for this. And I pray that all our officials
2 more minutes.
will do likewise, Mr. Speaker.
2 more minutes.
And give us something. I don't have the time to go into that, but this tells us, Mr. Speaker, this report, about the transparency, integrity of our reporting system. And when we hold people's money in trust, it ought to receive the honest review that it needs. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Podium.
Yeah, proceed, Honorable Riviere.
Yeah. Can I get a podium?
Or you want to switch? Well, just get one of your colleagues to switch with you. He wants to? Yes.
Honorable Speaker, please allow me to refer to my notes.
Permission is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give my full and unwavering support to the 2022-2023 budget estimate as presented by the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, these are unprecedented times, especially for small islands, developing states like ours. Our challenges are insurmountable as we deal with the threat posed by climate change, COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, monkeypox, and even more dangerous, Mr. Speaker, the verbal destruction by those who are prepared to tarnish this country's name. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding all these, Travel and Leisure, a magazine of international repute, voted Dominica as the best country in the entire world. Mr. Speaker, we live in an era where leaders around the world are finding it difficult to even give thought to a budget, much more to present a budget. But here in Dominica, this government, led by our visionary and dynamic Prime Minister, was able to look deep within, extract some innovative and creative juices, transforming every stumbling block into stepping stone and forge ahead, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all will agree that this is an excellent budget. It has every ingredient, Mr. Speaker, to propel us into the future. It is the kind of budget that can arouse a response even from a sleeping opposition. This is the people's budget, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister presented a budget of 58 pages, of which 9 of these pages, 15%, focus on the investment in agriculture. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, this year's budget represents $15 million over last year's estimate for the very sector, providing a total allocation of $55 million. Maybe, Mr. Speaker, the largest allocation agriculture has ever seen in the history of this country. Mr. Speaker, this is clear demonstration of how seriously this government is taking agriculture. Agriculture to this government is top priority. Agriculture remains the center pillar of this country. Agriculture is everybody's business, and everybody should treat agriculture as a business. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister calls on us to produce more. He articulated several measures to incentivize farmers to produce. And every farmer within the sound of my voice should realize that this government has its back, or his back, or her back. This government is interested in you and have you your best interests at heart. Hence, 90 or 99%, if not 99%, of all the proposed measures came from the farmers themselves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and because these measures come from you, I am confident that you will work with the government, just as the government is always ready to work with you to take advantage of the opportunities that will be available in agriculture and take agriculture to the next level. Mr. Speaker, if we take this budget seriously and pay attention to implementation, our farmers and fisher folks will be the happiest people in this country. And I am convinced that the foundation is set to make this a reality. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak a little bit about the National Abattoir. I want to draw your attention to the National Abattoir. $3.8 million, Mr. Speaker, has been allocated to rehabilitate the National Abattoir. Yes, Mr. Speaker, the abattoir continues to function despite many challenges. The structure was severely battered by Hurricane Maria. Of course, it was brutally impacted by COVID-19. And now we see the rising cost of feed, spike in the cost of production as a result of other global events. These factors have limited the potential of the abattoir to meet the demands of locally produced meat products. In light of this, we are reviewing the entire abattoir program and hope to put additional measures in place to ensure that the program continues to grow and to meet the expectation of all concerned. As such, we are embarking on a total review of the abattoir, looking at the full operation, the production cycle, the management and administration, documentation, regulatory framework, the business and marketing, and the improvement to the infrastructure, all with a view to making the abattoir more efficient and more sustainable. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that an investment of such magnitude will increase capacity and efficiency of the abattoir. And, well, most importantly, my friends, well, I should not say my friends, honorable members, safeguard the livelihood of many families who rely on it. The National Abattoir has tremendous potential. Despite numerous challenges, last fiscal year, we were able to slaughter broiler birds to provide 253,989 pounds of saleable meat at a value of $465.98. In the same period, the abattoir slaughtered 265 pigs, which yielded 24,006 pounds of saleable meat at a value of $206,364. Mr. Speaker, this is money that went straight into the farmer's pocket. Mr. Speaker, Dominicans love pork and chicken. For me, I have a special love for pork. Poultry product, Mr. Speaker, continues to occupy a sizable portion of imports. In 2021, we imported 7 million pounds of chicken parts at a value of $16 million or $16.4 million. And this comes from the Central Statistics. Likewise, Mr. Speaker, in 2021, Dominica imported 788,468 pounds of meat, that is pork, at a value of $2.4 million. Between chicken and pork, we have spent $18.8 million importing products that we have the capacity to produce right here in Dominica. Mr. Speaker, this will be corrected this fiscal year. We are positioning ourselves to gain a greater share of the chicken and pork market because we love our chicken and we love our pork. Mr. Speaker, the National Abattoir has the potential to gain a greater share of the market. It was built to process 1,500 broilers and 50 pigs per day. This is why government has allocated $700,000 in this budget to provide direct support to poultry farmers in order to increase production. To capture that greater share of the market, Mr. Speaker, government will invest in at least 10 farmers with the capacity to commercialize production at farm level. Farmers with the capacity to supply between 5,000 and 10,000 birds will be provided with the incentives and technical support to expand these farms. This will allow the abattoir to perform at greater capacity. Farmers can see bigger returns on the investment, more employment created, fresh, healthier, softer, and certainly cheaper chicken on the market. And of course, Mr. Speaker, that being said, while we put all these measures in place to beef up production, I am appealing to the general public to consume more of our local chicken and pork. Let us make a concerted effort to grow more local, buy more local, and eat more local. The responsibility of reducing our food import bill lies in our hands. When we go to shop, when we go to the supermarket, the restaurant, when we go to the roadside barbecue, you should demand the chicken and pork from the abattoir. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, you are keeping employment in this country. In doing so, you are helping to send a child to school. In doing so, you are helping a brother or a sister make ends meet. In doing so, you are surely contributing to the economic and social advancement of this country. If there is one time to be patriotic, it's now, Mr. Speaker. Let us support local. I must say, Mr. Speaker, that we are doing very well with eggs. And I really want to commend the farmers that after the ravages of Hurricane Maria, we are back to our 45-year record of being self-sufficient in egg production. And I want to commend our farmers. Mr. Speaker, I want to express sincere gratitude to all the supermarkets and shops and restaurant owners who continue to support the abattoir. I also want to commend in a very special way the people from the ministry who every Friday would come with a little plastic bag and buy their product from the abattoir. I think we need to give them a round of applause. Mr. Speaker, you know, we have a serious problem as it relates to the high cost of feed, through no fault of ours. As a result, we've been meeting with feed importers, hatchery operators, and feed companies looking for ways to reduce the price of a bag of feed borne by the farmers. I have been reliably informed that a bag of feed is somewhere around $60 to $67, which of course is an important or an essential component in the livestock production, accounting to nearly 70% of the cost of operation, or the cost of production. To this end, government is making available $345,000 to begin exploration and to engage in research to formulate animal feed from local material. At the same time, we will work with hatchery operators to build their capacity and to expand their facility in order to meet the current demand of hatching eggs on the market. Government is also considering other options to address these concerns in an effort to ease the pressure on our farmers. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak briefly to the enhancement of vegetable production. $4.1 million, Mr. Speaker, is allocated to enhance production system in vegetables, tree crop, and horticulture. This investment is a step in the right direction as we focus on reducing our food import bill and achieving food security. Mr. Speaker, I am in total agreement with the Prime Minister, who indicated that there should be no reason why we should be importing things like carrots and tomatoes and melon in this country. Furthermore, we cannot go wrong if we invest in tree crop like avocados, citrus, and cocoa. With our booming juice industry and our intention to invest another $1 million to upscale it, we cannot go wrong with citrus. Mr. Speaker, in recent times, I learned that cocoa business is serious business. One can fetch as much as $12.50 a pound of dry cocoa. And if you are lucky to take it to Guadeloupe or Martinique, you can fetch as much as $35 a pound. Mr. Speaker, mark you, when you add value to the product, when you make the cocoa sticks and you make the cocoa balls, that is where the money is, Mr. Speaker. Cocoa is serious business. Mr. Speaker, we welcome the construction of the Agriculture Science Complex building at 1 Mile. This is being constructed to a tune of $13 million grant funded from the People's Republic of China. This will certainly be a game changer, Mr. Speaker, as we seek to propagate better quality plants and greater quantity to meet local demands and possibly, Mr. Speaker, export. We may have enough to export, Mr. Speaker. I am told that the plants propagated there using that particular technique will produce consistent yield, which makes it easier for us to forecast in the market. Mr. Speaker, $1 million to support young people in agriculture is further evident that this government believes that agriculture is everybody's business. Our youth are the most valuable resources. They have the energy, they have the talent, they have the skills, and they have the creativity to take agriculture to a whole new level. And so, government will continue to provide the support, startup capital, labor, material, and supplies to assist youth who have the passion and the zeal, Mr. Speaker, to expand or modernize their farms. Government intention to build a register of vacant agricultural land in order to put back into production is very encouraging. And that is a very, very encouraging pronouncement, especially for our youth, Mr. Speaker. Land availability should not be an impediment to those who are serious about production. The government will do all that is necessary to provide land to who really want to produce. Mr. Speaker, we need to put every square foot of productive land into production. I am calling on the youth, especially qualified in agriculture-related field, to step up and take advantage of this golden opportunity to put more money into your pocket. Mr. Speaker, I don't believe that agriculture is on its knees. I certainly don't believe, and I don't believe any of my colleagues here, believe that agriculture is on its knees. Certainly not under this government. All we are doing is upscaling and upgrading and encouraging new entrants so we can achieve our goal of $700 million agriculture contribution to GDP by 2030. Mr. Speaker, so much in this budget to talk about in agriculture. Sometimes I think agriculture should have its own debate. But what will it benefit if these systems are in place and farmers cannot sell their produce? Mr. Speaker, of all the wonderful measures, I believe the most important is the additional $5 million to Dexter as a result, a revolving fund for the procurement of agricultural produce, Dexia. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think that deserves a round of applause. This measure will serve as a guarantee to farmers that their produce will not go to waste. Right. Mr. Speaker, I am certain that if farmers are assured of a reliable market and a reasonable price, there will not be enough land in Dominica to cultivate. And so we give the farmer this assurance that whatever they plant, Mr. Speaker, we will take it. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak a little bit about our fishing sector. Following the destruction of the fish, of course, Hurricane Maria, the fisheries sector, Mr. Speaker, got a serious blow. As a result, government continued to invest heavily in the sector, recognizing the number of families that rely on it for their livelihood. Mr. Speaker, approved fishers were provided with 4-stroke outboard engine, cash grants, assistance to build their sheds, ongoing capacity building and training. Of course, fisher folks could also access low-interest loans at the aid bank to capitalize their business. Mr. Speaker, government invested in farms and maintained fisheries infrastructures and landing sites all over the country. These investments did not go in vain, Mr. Speaker. The landing sites across the country, of course, I want to say that I really want to commend the fishers who continue to do an excellent job. And the data shows that, Mr. Speaker. In 2018, we got over $11.2 million from fishing. 2019, $11.9 million from fishing. 2020, $12.8 million, Mr. Speaker. And in 2021, $16.04 million, Mr. Speaker, from fishing. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the fisheries sector continues to thrive under this Labour Party administration. And while I commend the fisher folks who continue to be diligent and patient, I want to give a special commendation, Mr. Speaker, to the fisher folks of the Maho community who remain consistent in landing the most fish for an extended period of time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the newly rehabilitated fisheries complex at Roseau and Marigot will be completed by the first quarter of 2022-2023. This $27 million investment, when completed, will take our service delivery in the fisheries sector to a whole new level.
6 more minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I had an hour.
Sorry, apologies. Yes, an hour. Sorry.
Okay, because Mr. Speaker, I was really preparing for an hour. I just warming up. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. The project currently employs 90 individuals, of which the majority is local, and that includes 12 women. Mr. Speaker, among the greatest benefit of this project is the emphasis on hygienic practices, food safety, and an increased opportunity for the export of fish products. For instance, major improvement in the rehabilitation of the Roseau Fisheries Complex is the inclusion of an enclosed, air-conditioned, 98 square meter fish processing room, enabling hygiene and safety controls to be carried out at the fish processing stage. Mr. Speaker, processing will include boning, cutting, slicing, and packaging of large pelagic and local and regional market. The design of the facility will allow for appropriate drainage, easy cleaning material, the water-resistant wall for improved sanitation. These characteristics are essential for the facility to attain hazard analysis critical control point accreditation, which is required for export of fish to the United States and other high-value markets. Mr. Speaker, the Roseau Fisheries Complex will be equipped with a 9-ton ice machine, which will have the capacity to produce ice for the entire country on top of what already exists. Mr. Speaker, a non-fisher will not understand the significance of ice to the fishing industry. Ice to the fisher folks is tantamount to petrol in a vehicle. Just as the vehicle cannot run without petrol, is so fishers cannot fish without ice. In light of this, we have augmented our capacity across the country by ensuring that government machines are up and running. And at the same time, we provide support to a number of fisher groups and cooperatives who have the capacity to produce ice. Mr. Speaker, you know, every time you hear a machine breaks down, you will hear a little buzz. And so the division has constructed an efficient and reliable firm to ensure that machines, when broken down, will be up and running at the soonest possible time. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank in a very special way the Japanese government for providing this grant to execute this project. And I think we need to really big up the Japanese government. At the same time, the construction company, Nitosimo Co. Limited, and our local company, Oyo, and Sub-Zero Degree Limited, who are doing an excellent job. Mr. Speaker, Fisher folks from Scotset, Soufriere, Fokole, Maho, Bioche, Dubla, San Sylvester, and Newtown are expected to see some upgrade in their landing site. Yes. It is expected that these upgrades will enhance fishers' safety and fishing operations, as well as to facilitate trade and tourism-related activities in the respective communities. Mr. Speaker, $350,000 is allocated to facilitate capacity building initiative for fisher folks and aquaculturists. This project continued on the momentum that was established in the previous year. We want to commend the 150 fisher folks who successfully participated in training aimed at increasing safety at sea and the knowledge of the overall improvement in occupational health and safety in the fishing sector. Mr. Speaker, under the Dominica Emergency Agricultural Livelihood Climate Resilient Project, 53 fishermen who applied for fishing boats are expected to receive their boats during this fiscal year. And of course, we had an excellent boat making program, Mr. Speaker. And I must say that the gentlemen are doing very well. We have a number of people who are actually training. And I want to commend a naval architect from India who are providing, who are facilitating the program, Mr. Speaker. But what is even more interesting is that the 6 selected boat builders will each receive benefits from tools and equipment valued at $5,000 US to go towards enhancing their capacity. And I think that people from the Point Michel area would be very happy to hear something like that. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Minister, Fidel Grant, and PS Dr. Paul, and all our technical and administrative staff at the Ministry of Blue and Green Economy, Agriculture, and National Food Security. I want to especially mention Mr. Reginald Thomas and Mr. Julian Defoe. So, Speaker, those are the people who keep things going in the country, and we need to recognize them and give them a round of applause, Mr. Speaker, for the hard work, Mr. Speaker, that they continue to do. At the same time, knowing that agriculture is everybody's business, I want to commend all the technical team. And I know we have our agri-trade group, Mr. Speaker, who meet every Wednesday to ensure that things are in place. And all the other people from the other ministries and members of the cabinet who continue to provide serious support to agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about Marigot. It is not often that I do so, but since I have a little more time, I will talk a little bit about Marigot. Marigot has benefited tremendously under this administration. And this budget presents another opportunity for self-empowerment, community enhancement, and development. To date, Mr. Speaker, we have seen the renovation of the police station. We have seen the construction of houses at Melvin Hall and Sam's Gutter for the vulnerable among us. We have seen the completion or the complete renovation of the Will Strathmore Stevens School. We have seen the resurfacing of the Overgutter Road. We have seen the completion of the dam bridge. We have seen the renovation of the Fisheries Complex. We have seen, Mr. Speaker, the construction of a brand new youth center, Mr. Speaker. We have seen the completion of the Doris Musgrave Health and Wellness Center. We have seen the upgrade to the Douglas Charles Airport. Mr. Speaker, and our flagship project, we have seen the completion of the new Marigot Hospital, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, yes.
Mr. Speaker, I am very happy that everyone wants to be associated with the new Marigot Hospital. Afu are we? Are we all, Mr. Speaker? And I'm happy when we all embrace it in this honorable house. But what is even more important, Mr. Speaker, is that when the history of Marigot is written, it will be printed in red ink that this new Marigot Hospital was built under the Dominica Labour Party. And Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit. Mr. Speaker, I am not the Minister of Health, but I am extremely excited about the opportunities created for employment and the services that will be provided to the people of the North when we commission our brand new hospital. Mr. Speaker, we talk about 24-hour emergency surgery, specialist clinics, one-stop shop, Mr. Speaker, for dental services, maternal and child health, dialysis, imaging and radiology. Mr. Speaker, we're talking about intensive care. And God forbid, if you didn't make it, the hospital is equipped with a mark. Mr. Speaker, almost every service currently being undertaken or administered at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital will be available at the new Marigot Hospital, including the fact that it will also be fully digitalized in keeping with the OECS Digital Health Program, Mr. Speaker.
That's right. Telemedicine.
I want to thank the members of the Marigot Health team, the people of the entire Marigot Health District, for their patience and understanding. We assure you that very soon, we all will bear witness to the commissioning of the brand new hospital. I think the Minister of Health, of course, I want to really thank in a very special way the Minister of Health, the ministry in general, and the government of Dominica for making this a reality. Mr. Speaker, I also want to spend a little time to talk about our brand new youth center. Upon completion, this center will be the main center to facilitate skills training, leadership training, recreation, and social activities, day and residential camps. These activities will empower youth and create more productive citizens of our community. I wish to say special thanks to the Minister and, of course, the staff of the Youth Development Division who see this project as a priority in these challenging times. I also want to thank the Maria Holder Memorial Trust for providing the funding for this program. Mr. Speaker, while all this is happening, we are still able to maintain all our social safety net. The Yes We Care, the NEP has grown. Parents and students continue to benefit from our textbook and our our uniform allowance. We continue to assist people with medical care overseas. And most important, we pay attention to the needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, many times we focus on infrastructure, but today I want to give a little credit to a few in the constituency who have upgraded themselves to take advantage of opportunities ahead. So, I want to commend the 3 nurses from Valley who graduated with a bachelor degree in nursing. Mr. Speaker, maybe the only person in here who may know Valley is Honorable Vince Henderson. I remember he had a little meeting in Valley, a little place with about 20 or so houses. And I remember in days gone by, Mr. Speaker, we would have problems getting a registered nurse completing a program from the entire district. But under the Dominica Labour Party, Mr. Speaker, we have 3 nurses in one locality, Valley, Mr. Speaker, gaining bachelor's degree in nursing. And I think that is commendable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the doctor from Rose Hill, who is now qualified to practice anywhere in the region, Mr. Speaker, and is now the district medical officer of the Rosa district, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the lawyer from Nelson Street, Samsgutter, who recently graduated from UWI with his degree in law, Mr. Speaker. I want to commend the doctor from Melvin Hall, who returned from Cuba and is now awaiting an internship. I want to also congratulate the doctor from Bull Hall, who have achieved all her, wow, look, I'm tying up for words now. But I want to commend the doctor from Bull Hall, who have completed her internship and has taken up employment elsewhere. Our 2 students of the Will Strathmore Stevens School, who obtained scholarship at this year's Grade 6 National Assessment. Mr. Speaker, I want to also commend the 2 teachers from Samsgutter who graduated with their teacher's training qualification from the Dominica State College. And I want to commend Mr. Addison James, not Edison James, Mr. Edison cannot run. I want to commend Mr. Addison James, who made us proud at his success in track and field. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the success stories from the constituency. And of course, as I mentioned, all these were possible because of the policies, Mr. Speaker, of this Dominica Labour Party. Mr. Speaker, just a stone throw away from Marigot, the government is undertaking the biggest capital project this country has ever seen. I am fully satisfied with the progress thus far, especially now that we have seen or we have heard of the signing of the contract. I encourage our people to get ready to fill the positions during and post-construction. Mr. Speaker, I heard mention of the international airport this morning, and in a particular presentation, someone outlined, or a man outlined, how the airport was about to be funded. But Mr. Speaker, I am not sure if he conveniently forgot the loan that was taken in Trinidad at a rate of 14% interest, Mr. Speaker. I know he would have gotten a better deal at Fast Cash. Certainly, Mr. Speaker. But we know we are well on course with our international airport, and we are just encouraging our people in the area to prepare themselves to take advantage of the opportunities that will be available. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the people of Marigot and Concord for the tremendous support they have given me for the last financial year, and say to them that I look forward to continue working with you for the advancement of our community. As I conclude and I wind up, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to wind down, I want to wind up. Certainly, there is so much to talk about in this budget that, of course, as my colleague, member from the Lapland indicated, will not have enough time. And I know the Minister of Agriculture is coming at the back with some real hot stuff, Mr. Speaker. So I will wind up. But I want to say to the youth of this country that this budget is for you. I want to say to you that you need to take advantage of the opportunities this budget has for you. Take advantage of the $5 million set aside for the future housing development. Take advantage of the $12 million set aside to support small business and medium-sized enterprises. Take advantage of the $1 million set aside for youth in agriculture. Take advantage of the $19 million set aside on the education. Take advantage of the $15 million earmark under the NEP. Take advantage of the $1 million allocated for juice producers and the $5 million allocated to support value-added industries. I want to also say to the youth, take advantage of the $15 million of the $16.9 million under the Ministry of Sports and Culture. It belongs to you. Take advantage of the $1.5 million set aside for 40 and under home ownership. Take advantage of the nearly $500,000 provided for skills training program and skills, youth skills for economic growth, and of course, the $400,000 set aside for the Dominica Youth Business Trust. Trust me, take advantage of the $7.9 million under the digital economy. That is for you, young people. This is your budget. This is the people's budget. A realistic and hopeful budget. We have a country to build, Dominica. So let us get busy and put this budget to work. I thank you very much.
Yes, Honorable Paul. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to give support to this wonderful budget that was presented. And I want to first of all thank the Honorable Prime Minister for his presentation of the budget. Mr. Speaker, healthy people, strong communities, a resilient nation, and a robust economy. This is what I see reflected in the provisions of this budget. Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me ask that I reference my notes. Okay. I'm seeking your permission, please.
Yes, you are granted permission.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, first of all, the budget indicates a number of areas that give support to ensuring that we can attain
the various components under our CRRP, which is the Climate Resilience and Recovery Plan. I will start by just focusing on a few essential areas that would support the fact that we are building a resilient country, that we are pushing to ensure that we have healthy people, strong communities, a resilient nation, and a robust economy. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I will speak to agriculture. Our government, Mr. Speaker, has always invested very heavily in the agricultural sector. And we have done so more particularly in the last 5 years following Hurricane Maria. We are ensuring through these investments that we have available, and we will have the availability and affordability of food, that we can have good quality, nutritious food, that we will be able to feed ourselves. Mr. Speaker, through the investment, we are ensuring that we can sustain livelihoods and create increased employment. We will be able to expand the productive sectors like agriculture. So these investments, they are well planned, well thought out, because we know where we are going. And through the Prime Minister's articulation, Mr. Speaker, we know that we are targeting to reach 700 million contribution by the agricultural sector to our GDP. And so this year, Mr. Speaker, there has been a lot provided for in the budget for the agricultural sector. And as much as $47 million investment, capital investment for agricultural sector. And this is also complemented by other provisions made for the Ministry of Trade, particularly DEXIA, because we are not only seeking to expand production, expand the rural economy, but we are seeking to penetrate new markets and to sustain already existing markets. So as I said, we are seeking to expand the rural economy, and we are seeking as well for a more diversified agricultural sector. And we heard Honorable Douglas this morning spoke of passion fruit, spoke of white potato. We are looking at exotic fruits. So already we have a more diversified agricultural sector. Honorable Francisca Joseph mentioned the fact that she mentioned banana and plantain. But if you look at the reports on what is happening, we are already well on our way to having a much more diversified agricultural sector. Through this investment, we are seeking to empower women and men farmers so that they can become more self-reliant, so that they can take care of themselves and their families, so that they can contribute further to creating wealth for themselves and also investing again into the economy. So we are increasing as well with these investments. We are seeking to increase our production, not only for local consumption, but also to reach the export market and to ensure we have increased foreign exchange. So these investments are not just sky in the pie, they're investments very targeted to ensure that we can have increased production and expanded economy that we can all enjoy. And already, I know that farmers, a number of farmers, have benefited from the programs of the Ministry of Agriculture all around Dominica. Just in the Pebush constituency, 116 farmers were able to benefit from the cash grant. Many farmers also were equipped with tools, machinery, they received inputs. And so the farmers are working and they are committed and they are getting the support from this Labour Party government to ensure that they can produce. Mr. Speaker, we also saw a number of feeder roads being built around the island. And again, the Pebush constituency benefited from two of these projects. The Calibishi Middle Ridge Road, a wonderful road, and a road that the people have been looking forward to, a road that we will definitely cause or push farmers to produce more. And also it's a road that is an alternative in the event that you cannot use the main road. As we know, Calibishi is in a low-lying area, and this road is very important. Also, we have the Bopla Road, feeder road, one of the 9 roads done as well in Pebush, and a very needed bridge was constructed, and several meters of road is being done as well. And again, people are already looking to expanding activities in that area, increasing their their agricultural activities in this area. And it also, there's been discussion because it lends itself to agrotourism. So already there are people discussing the possibilities of agrotourism. And I will be having meetings with them to be able to have this area, Bopla, as one of the areas for development in terms of tourism. In terms of benefit, again, to the constituency, I know the in agriculture, they provided support to livestock farmers, and 9 out of 31 farmers, targeted farmers, are from the Pebush constituency. And so we just heard the Minister Riviere speak of the abattoir, speak of livestock, and government is ensuring that we put resources, invest resources, so that we can have increased livestock, increased poultry, and that we can reduce our import bill. So we can substitute these imports. And the only thing, all of us need to play a part if we have to contribute to this robust economy that we're seeking for. And one of the simple ways, one of the easy ways, and one of the responsibilities that we need to take up is to begin to eat more local foods, eat what we grow. And so I heard again Ms. Joseph, Honorable Senator Francisca Joseph mention some places you have 50% of their produce being or not importing 50%. And so for us to get there, Senator, we have to encourage our people to eat what we grew. Okay, if all we eat is macaroni and rice, yes, macaroni and rice, we are the ones going to buy it in the supermarket, then the merchants will definitely import it. There's a lot of investment as well. The budget provided for investments in health, and there has been mention already, and we know it's very visible, the investment we are making in health infrastructure. There are 12 health centers already built, and there are others on stream, and that's modern, resilient health centers. And already, most of them are in use. The Anzime Health Center is in use. although it has not yet been commissioned and will be commissioned soon. We also speak, if we are speaking healthy people, strong communities, we know that primary health care is very, very critical, particularly in the effort to address the issue of CNCDs. We know the concern or the number of people that we have suffering with diabetes, high blood pressure, and the works. And this is, this primary healthcare, improving primary healthcare, will most definitely improve the services and try to address CNCDs. Although having this infrastructure alone does not ensure that, so again, people have to take personal responsibility and to take care of themselves, do the physical fitness, and I appreciate the recommendation or the proposal for having programs in the community where we can encourage people to get into exercise, good nutrition. And as the Minister of Sports, Culture, and Community Development, I see our ministry playing a very critical role. Every aspect of or every department has a role to play, and we are willing to collaborate. When we speak of sports, we speak of people being physically active. When we speak of culture, we need to get back to some of the things that we used to do that would have our people healthy. When we speak of community development, we need to play that role to ensure we have healthy people that can contribute to healthy living and a resilient nation. So we also saw the, apart from the health centers, we have the new hospitals for improved quality of services to our people. And this government will go down in history as one that has been investing the most in the health and wellness of our people. Okay. But also, we are not only looking at the infrastructure in terms of health, but we have put in place the hospital authority, which seeks to improve the management of the administration, the management of the hospitals, with a view to having improved quality of services. And we don't only have the hospitals, but we are ensuring that we equip the hospitals with this, have the modern equipment that can reduce the bills that we face when people have to find tertiary care elsewhere. So no longer, or in the near future, we'll have much less people seeking care out there. Instead, we will have people coming from the region to access the services because we are positioning Dominica to provide improved quality services. Yes, the HIFU. I'm not sure if when people heard HIFU, it meant IFU. It meant IFU and they did not understand, but it was HIFU machine. So, as I said, we have to do all in our power to ensure that we have our healthy people. We also have provision in this budget in terms of water supply. We know the saying, and it's true, water is life. And it, contrary to the thinking of people, where you hear a lot of people, Dominicans, because we have many rivers, they say, oh, but Dominica have so many rivers. It is very, very costly to bring pipe-borne water to the households. But this government was well, in fact, Dominica was well on its way to having 100% pipe-borne water across communities in Dominica. This was affected by Hurricane Maria, but we are not giving up, and the government continues to invest significantly to ensuring that communities can have quality and reliable water supply. And so provision is made in this year's budget for a number of communities to have either new water systems or rehabilitated water systems. I know Water Wavern, Cotton Hill, a number of other communities, as well as Calibishi, will be benefiting from the Bon Prosper. In terms of the BNTF, we have on our way to spending pretty close to $3 million to ensure that Mon Prosper has a reliable water supply. And in terms of water, when we think of water to the household, it's not only for having water in the household, but it ensures, it facilitates agricultural production. And I see the women, we know we have a lot of women in Mon Prosper involved in vegetable production. And this is going to be very, very critical and beneficial to these women farmers and other farmers. It is also very critical for the operation of businesses. We know we have a lot of bars, restaurants, and when you speak of healthy living, you also need water. So these investments, so you realize that all of these provisions, all of these plans provided for in this budget, it's because it is people-centered. It is regarding the life, the improved quality of life of people. It is regarding ensuring that communities can be strong and that we can have a resilient nation. Yes. Now, it's the government for housing, and not only housing, but resilient housing. The government has always, or increasingly, incrementally, we are addressing the housing issues across all stratas of society. Contrary to the thinking of some, in society you have those who are very vulnerable, you have low income, you have middle income. And if you look at the programs of government, government has always targeted the different strata of society. We are building homes for the vulnerable groups, but we have always had, for example, money in the aid bank, money in government housing, targeting the middle income groups. And we are going further this time, and we are ensuring that we have this future housing program that also targets another group, the middle income group, but with their own set of vulnerabilities, because there are many of them who are unable to afford land or they do not have access to land. So it's a very important project. And home ownership, it addresses the issue of housing to house families, to have safe and affordable shelters. But it also comes with a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and it also sets the foundation where you can improve the life of your family and where you can begin to accumulate wealth. Because when you have a COT, a certificate of title in your hand, you have a home, you can then utilize that to educate yourself and educate your children. And so home ownership for these people that are targeted, for the young professionals, I would encourage them to take advantage, because that's how many of us have been able to accumulate wealth, to have that sense of pride, and to invest in the education of our children. So this government is one who is always forward-thinking and always has a holistic approach to improving the quality of life. So I speak here, I speak of agriculture, I spoke of housing, I spoke of safe drinking water, and all these contribute to stronger communities, a robust economy, and healthy living. Now, if we are speaking to a robust economy, we cannot not mention the international airport. This is the single most significant project that can transform even further the economy of Dominica. It is the international airport definitely will allow more people to come to our country, thereby increasing tourism. It will open up the country for increased business opportunities. It will facilitate trade, and it will create employment. And I urge the people in the Northeast, including North and all over Dominica, to begin to see what skills will be needed and take advantage of the job opportunities that will be there, not only during construction, but when the airport is opened in the year, what was it? 2026. So position yourself. And we are well on our way. And by the grace of God, it will happen. It is going to happen. And we claim it in the name of the Lord. The Ministry of Sports has its own part to play through its mandate and in ensuring that we can have strong communities. We are the ministry responsible for communities, and through our various departments, we do that. We speak of sports, we speak of culture, we speak of community, and all of these areas, you speak people, you speak interacting with people, helping people to grow, helping people to develop, helping communities and families to develop. And so we have a very critical role to play, and we have been doing so. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry, as I said, of Sports, Culture, and Community Development, through its mandate, continues to contribute to a healthy people, stronger communities, expansion of the rural economy, and a robust and a resilient nation. Sports development continues to play a major role in driving economies and allowing countries to achieve their goals, their development goals. We know that sports is several $billion industry, and we have begun positioning ourselves in Dominica to take advantage of that. Sports, through its ability to move individuals in great numbers, and we saw it for cricket. Sports has the ability to move people in great numbers. So in focusing on sports, we are creating the opportunity for events so that we can bring people to Dominica. So sports is beneficial at the personal level, it is beneficial at the local level, and it's also beneficial as in regional and international in terms of promoting and positioning ourselves for sports tourism. And so sports is a key pillar, I would say, for economic growth. Over the last 2-year period, we have seen unprecedented investment in the sports sector locally at a time, and this is happening at a time when many countries are tightening up, when the world is facing global financial issues. But we know the importance of sports, and the government continues to invest in sports. And when you speak sports, this is synonymous to youth development. And so the government recognizes the value of ensuring that the infrastructure are in place, not only, as I said, for sports tourism, but for our own people to recreate, to enjoy, to build their career paths in terms of sports. And so we have been working not only on the infrastructure, but on programs. So the ministry, the sports division started the year with the staging of its usual school sports awards ceremony. Because of COVID, this was shelved for a year, but last year we did have our awards ceremony, and that is very important to recognize the contribution of our sports, our young people in sports, and to do so, which motivates them further and motivates others to get involved. We also worked at improving our sports structure at the community level. We understand that, like what happened, one of the challenges is lack of continuity sometimes in terms of our sportsmen and women. So they do well at the school level when they're there, but if there's no continuity in the community, then they sometimes fall through. So we have been working to ensure that we have the sports clubs at the community level to be able to continue to see sports thrive. And I had a discussion with Mr. Skerry, the president of Cricket West Indies, and we were discussing such issues. And so if we want our young sportsmen and women to make it, we have to target them at the school level, but also at the community and national level. When we had the down period during COVID pandemic and closure of schools online, we also focused on enhancing the sports infrastructure. And I will give a few of what we've done. We've been working on the Woodford Hill playing field, the Geneva playing field, and I sung the call to the people of Grand Bay and to thank them for their patience, but it is a project that we will expedite in this new year. We also worked on we also saw the hard courts in Bath Estate and in Mount Prosper, and I will use the opportunity to thank the PAL reps who played a very leading role in ensuring that we could have these hard courts. We saw as well the OECS Netball Series, which was hosted very successfully at the Windsor Park forecourt. And we got very good accolades for hosting this tournament. We spent $347,000 to prepare, to put all of the amenities that we needed in place to host the game, but already it has brought a request for another tournament that we can host, another netball tournament, the Jean-Pierre Under 16 tournament. So we've received that request. So it has positioned Dominica in terms of sports tourism, okay? We also saw the works, I said we had improved works done at the forecourt, the 3 courts at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium forecourt, and so we've been working, and we look forward to doing other courts around the country. We already have the design, as Honorable Ian Douglas said, for starting and preparatory works are going on for starting the hard court facilities in Portsmouth. And so we do it bit by bit. We also fenced, we also did some work on the La Plaine playing field. We did the fencing and some other works for improvement to a cost of $90,000. And soon from now, this month, August, we will be commissioning the Massac indoor court, and this is very important. And I also thank Mr. Blackmore for his leadership and his continued work. And it's a very important facility for us. We will be able to play, so the weather will not, sometimes when you have these games and it starts raining, you have to interrupt these games. But with the indoor facility, it is positioning basketball at a better level that we can play without interruptions. It also places Maho in a position for sports tourism, because not only Dominica is looking forward to this facility. But I've had discussion with other ministers of sports in the OACS, and they're looking forward to having regional games there. So, right, so again, the government is investing in sports facilities to the benefit of this country, the social, economic benefits of this country. Despite the challenges, Dominica also participated in a number of overseas tournaments and events. Dominica participated in the Tokyo Olympics. In the Tokyo Olympics, also Dominica participated in the Dominica series of women's football. And for the World Cup qualifier, Dominica's senior national netball team also participated in the OECS netball tournament. Dominica participated in the 49th Carifta Games in Jamaica, and as well as currently participating in the CONCACAF National League. And we have our teams, our delegation currently going to participate in the Commonwealth Games in England. I want to use the opportunity to commend some of the high achievers in terms of sports who continue to make us proud, like Thea Lafont. In a number of events, she has been in the top. And at the Olympics, she qualified for the final of the women's triple jump as well. Thea Lafont set a new national record on her way to winning the triple jump in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Collegiate International in New Mexico. We also commend Trennis Hamilton, who won gold medal in the Carifta Games in Jamaica. And we also commend Addison James as well. And right now we have Mr. Denick Luke, who I admire, coming from a very challenging background, but has been able to make inroads in terms of making his way to the top in terms of sports. Okay, we also were very, very happy to host successfully the International Cricket T20 games between Cricket West Indies and Bangladesh. And people still can't stop talking about this game, about this event. Dominica received great accolades for hosting this game, and we were described as the best prepared stadium in the entire region for the games. And Dominicans really show their nationalism, their patriotism, their love for cricket, and came out in large numbers. And for that, I really want to thank every Dominican for making us so proud. So it is something we really are elated about, and it's been appreciated around the region and the world. And so we will have to think. But it did not, it did not just happen without the necessary investment. In fact, Hurricane Maria did destroy almost everything in the stadium except the stands, but we had to redo the roof, put new roof. We had to change all the amenities the media center, we had to upgrade the pavilion, we had to upgrade the practice area, put in new cameras, new internet, everything we had to redo to ensure the amenities. And the scoreboard, one of the second largest quality scoreboard in the world for quality cricket scoreboard in the world. Second to Melbourne in Australia. And then, you know, it costs us a pretty sum, but it has positioned Dominica to be the best venue for international cricket in the region. And so this is coming. This is going to be a priority in this budget. We do all of the others, and then we are now going to work on the lighting of the field. And as discussed with Cricket West Indies, this is the missing part so that we can have our test cricket and our one-day matches. So an investment of just below $7 million will be invested in ensuring that we can have our lights at the Windsor Park Sports Stadium. In terms of the Sports Council, already we have a task force in place, and soon from now we will have the Sports Council. And added to that, in this year's budget, provision is made to establish the trust fund that will meet the gap and the needs of our sportsmen and women who have to represent us at the international level. So the Sports Council and the trust fund are very important support mechanisms that we are putting in place to ensure that we have the infrastructure, but we also have these mechanisms that can drive our sportsmen and women to perform to their maximum potential. At the same time, apart from the infrastructure, we at the sports division are undertaking several programs of training and events that can improve the skills of our sportsmen and women, especially our youth. We have a number of school-based programs. We have the cricket caravan and so on. And so we go out to the schools and we help to motivate and train these young people. And added to that, we have been providing them with gears and with uniforms because we know without these, they cannot advance. And some of them do not have the means. And so we ensure that we provide the gears, we provide uniform on an incremental basis for these young people. The local government department is also playing a very critical role, particularly in building resilience at the community level, and have been involved in training, capacity building at the community level in terms of disaster management and so on. And they've been doing that in partnership with CREED and other organizations. And to date, a total of 200 lights. Okay. So the local government focus has been greatly on empowerment and building capacity for community resilience. And under the capacity building component of a project that they are undertaking called the Community Emergency Readiness Initiative. And this is in keeping with what we have in our CRRP. A number of training programs have been undertaken. To date, a total of 263 community people have been trained representing 37 vulnerable communities. The training covered community disaster management, emergency response, leadership and conflict resolution, hazard analysis and vulnerability assessment, and damage assessment and needs analysis. So this was a call made by Ms. Joseph, and I think you would be happy to know that already we are doing what it takes to ensure that we build resilience at the community level. A number of education and community activities were held during Local Government Month, and collective consciousness about climate resilience is an important pillar if we have to if we need to have in place resilient communities and resilient people. So during the Local Government Month, again, there were consultations with all clerks, chairpersons, deputies of village councils, so that we can all be on the same page and we can all take collective responsibility in terms of Dominica becoming the first climate resilience country in the world. And even our National Day of Service, community service, focus on tree planting and beautification. And this was a success, and it was done at the family level, because it is important that this family approach to community enhancement is a prerequisite to the long-term goal of building a culture of cleanliness, so that families know they have to take responsibility. If there's something, a drain block just in front of your home, you do not have to wait for NEP to come and clean it. You will be protecting your home. And it builds on this culture that we have of kutme, of people looking out for each other and ensuring that they contribute to the cleanliness of their communities. So all of what we do as the local government department, local government institutions surround people taking responsibility for themselves and their community, and people be getting involved in the building resilience agenda. Also, a number of vulnerable communities were identified through assessment done through CREED and the local government department, and this informed the training in response to that to strengthen the capacity of these vulnerable communities. So I spoke of the first training program. Apart from the 263 trained, there were 23 field officers from 4 divisions, adult education, youth, welfare, and local government, who were exposed to a two-day training of trainers workshop to administer psychosocial support post-disaster. And we've had the experience after Tropical Storm Erika and after Hurricane Maria. We saw it very necessary that there is need for psychosocial support. At the time that somebody loses their whole home or loses family members, they need, or one of the biggest areas of support that they will need is psychosocial support. And so we are empowering the officers, the key agencies within communities to provide that necessary support. The division of the local government division also collaborated with the Office of Disaster Management and ICT unit to develop the very first digitalized shelter management information system. So we are going digital, and this is necessary, that system is necessary to provide valuable information such as shelter personnel, location and coordinates of shelters, shelter fixtures, the condition of the facilities and equipment, as well as a register of people in emergency shelters during major events. And that's very important, especially as we are moving to regional shelters, and you have many more people in one location and coming from different areas of the community or different communities altogether. The system has been operationalized and data is being collected and uploaded by the field officers. The division has also collaborated with the USAID in conducting training for shelter managers. So far, a total of 120 shelter managers were provided with training in shelter administration. Shelter personnel are now better equipped to carry out their functions, particularly for the 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. The division is collaborating with with CREED, as I said, Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, and the Roseau City Council in the implementation of an urban risk resilient project funded by UNDP. The outcome is to include a Roseau resilient plan, a fire hazard plan, and standard operating procedures for early warning systems. I refer now to culture, the activities in culture. As you know, by the nature of cultural activities themselves, it meant bringing people together. But with COVID-19 pandemic, this was more or less not possible. But the team at the Cultural Division has been very creative in ensuring that we can continue, or we could continue to have this spirit in us where we celebrate our culture. And so in the creative manner, they were able to use the virtual platform for a number of activities that still kept the spirit of Dominicans alive and well in terms of cultural celebration, even if we could not meet face to face. And so we'll all remember the virtual cultural gala. I'm sure a number of us saw that, and it went down well with many viewers. Additionally, the virtual street jump up. So even after Community Day of Service, there was a virtual street jump up, and it even felt like you were in the place. It felt very real. They also, the Cultural Division also had a Christmas culture production. So they found very creative ways to ensure people remain connected and were able to enjoy. And even the National Day of Prayer was different this year, where it ensured inclusion. So there was prayer, presentation by Rastafarian, Christian, Indian, Muslim, African, Haitian. So the production ensured it include everyone, every denomination. They facilitated a cultural exchange program in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy, a group from Barbados. And so they continue the work of research and
10 more minutes.
documentation. All right, I'll just ask for. Okay. Okay. Going forward, the division, in terms of culture, going forward, we will have implementation of an intangible cultural heritage project. And I mentioned earlier of some of the areas like Kutme, some of the values, cultural values, which really upheld societies. And some of these, if we do not watch it and we lose it, it changes our society, not for better, but for worse. And it is always important that we can document both our tangible and intangible cultural heritage. And so we are working in collaboration with UNESCO for a project where we will seek to address some of the gaps and do some documentation, make some policy recommendations in terms of safeguarding our intangible cultural heritage. We are also partnering with the OAS in terms of the creative sector, and we have had consultation and meetings with the stakeholders. And currently we have a framework for the advancement of the creative sector. And subsequent to that, we will have necessary training, professional training for the clientele, the different players in the creative industry. So we are tackling culture one way by having updating a strategic plan for the preservation of our culture, its promotion, but also the economic benefits to be derived through the creative industries. And currently we are also seeking funding through another UNESCO project that would advance further the growth and development in the creative industries. And I want to use the opportunity to inform or remind the people in the creative industries that government understanding the value of the creative industries in terms of making money from our culture and entertainment, from film, from arts and crafts, cuisine, the fashion, music and entertainment. And we saw how well Carlin XP rose to the occasion in terms of using the virtual to advance. So a number of our people are advancing. Issa Banton, and they are ambassadors to Dominica. And we want to remind them that government, understanding this for some years, has in place funds at the Aid Bank for the cultural industries. And 2 new projects will be undertaken this year as we seek to promote the heritage of communities around Dominica. So we are going to be working on Matutus Park in Granby. We know that there are 2 very culturally strong communities in Dominica, Granby and Pebush. And in both, as you know, for example, Tradibel is 41 years in existence. That's a group who has done a lot for culture, and we have a lot of significant cultural icons in the community of Granby. So not only do we have Matutus Park, but we have all of these that we need to showcase as a heritage and to also promote heritage tourism. The Pebush Cultural Group as well will be celebrating 40 years next year and have done significant work. And we will be doing a project as a cultural and resilient center in Pebush. And that will be at the top of the Pebush Resource Center, so it will serve as a cultural center. But that area is also central to bringing people together for sports. And so we will have change rooms, locker rooms, and so it will also be utilized for sports. And as I speak of, and then it will have the 3rd purpose of being a shelter in times of disaster. So that's a very critical project, and one which will be, it's dear to the people of Pebush, especially those involved in the cultural development and sports development. And I use this opportunity to thank the committee that organized the ongoing exciting league. Every Sunday is excitement in Pebush, a cricket league on the hard court. And it brings a lot of people from neighboring communities. So we are making extra use of the facilities that we have, not just for basketball after cricket, but for an exciting cricket league that brings players from 13-year-old to 70, because on Sunday, one of the persons playing cricket, his birthday, his 70th birthday was on Sunday. So it brings the entire community together, and that is so very important. And that points to the fact that we really need to upgrade the wire playing field, which is the traditional area that we played cricket, but it needs to be upgraded to be able to bring that massive crowd of people to wire to enjoy cricket, and we will invite the neighboring communities to be with us. So we have to work on the wire playing field so that we can release the pressure on the hard court that is for the second year we're having that exciting league. The Basic Needs Trust Fund, 9 program, Basic Needs Trust Fund 9 is almost complete. Most of the projects are complete, and we will be commissioning the Mon Prosper hard court soon, as well as the water project in Mon Prosper. And we have already commissioned some of the projects. So BNTF 9 is almost complete, and I recall that we were in Bacatel, where we launched the new water project under BNTF. We commissioned that. So we are spreading the bread and we are spreading the projects across Dominica based on need. So, and BNTF 10, a number of projects have been approved. The agreement with government has been signed, and the projects approved include and to commence in this financial year the Berean Christian Academy Schools Extension, the Daly's Playing Field, the traditional music instrument training, Trafalgar basketball court upgrade.
2 more minutes.
Grand Bay. Okay, I'll finish soon, but I need just 10 more minutes.
The honorable member be given an additional 10 minutes to complete her presentation.
Second, Mr. Speaker.
It has been moved and seconded that the Honorable Minister be given an additional 10 minutes. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Honorable Minister, you are given an additional 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so as I said, a number of projects have been approved from under BNTF 10 to be implemented starting in this financial year. And I was listing them: the Berean Christian Academy School Expansion, Daly's Playing Field, traditional musical instrument training, Trafalgar basketball court upgrade, Grand Bay Dubic multi-purpose facility, completion of that. Okay. The community center. Okay. Yes, we also have the Daly's Playing Field, Woodcraft Skill Development Program, the Village Fish Processing Facility in Soufriere, under access and drainage, basic community access and drainage. We have the Clifton Back Road refurbishment, the Pont Tompi Link Road, the Kalibishi extension of the Kalibishi River Wall, the Paybush, Dodan, Bon, Thibault water enhancement project, and everything, all the pipes need to be replaced. Since 1970, this system has been in place, and it needs total rehabilitation, and water tanks and drip irrigation system in Warner. So those are the projects that were approved by Cabinet on the BNTF 10. And like the successful implementation of BNTF 9, I look forward to the successful implementation of BNTF 10. This year we will also expedite the project to rehabilitate the ceiling at the post office. It's a need to really improve the working conditions there and the whole ambience, so we'll be expediting that project as well. So the ministry really has been pushing, and I want to thank all the staff of the various departments and led by the permanent secretary for their tremendous work and effort. In terms of the Paybush constituency, as I spoke, you realize that almost under every sector, the Paybush constituency continues to benefit. So we heard of the Bopla and Middle Ridge Road. We heard of the various projects to be done on the BNTF. And importantly, I want to refer to the jetty in Anzimé, a long-awaited project. And it is coming your way. It is going to be realized. The Anzimé port has been a traditional port of entry, a traditional fish landing site. If you speak of Anzimé without the jetty, you have not spoken of Anzimé. It is also a hub for economic activity, not only for Anzimé, but for the neighboring communities. And very, very important, the value of this area, of this facility, showed itself post-Hurricane Maria, when Marie-Galante was Roseau. So while you probably in the South could not enjoy your frozen meat and stuff like that, with the Kira, that's true, we never miss frozen meat because our people would go to Marie-Galante, Roseau. So it shows that if we are building resilience, Anzimé Jetty has to be in it. Okay. It is also, yes. No, it was there's a port in Anzimé, you know. Legal port of entry. And one which is traditional, it lends itself to cultural exchanges. Because any event we have, like we had the Liga St. Peter, we can not plan for long, and you still had people from Marie-Galante. So, and we remember the late Honorable Rosie Douglas would often bring people through the Anzimé port for cultural exchanges, legally through the Anzimé port. No, legally for cultural exchanges. And so Anzimé has been a traditional port, and I'm happy that the jetty is going to be done, and not only done, but done in a manner to improve the area. It facilitates trade between the French West Indies and our own local people. It is a fish landing site, and that is the area where we socialize. So it's going to be done in a way to improve the whole area, the whole ambience of the area. And when we think of that, we don't only think of cultural exchanges, but sports exchanges. I see a game of football between Marie-Galante and Anzimé in the near future. So we really welcome this initiative. Also, the Chaudière Pool, it will, I am sure the people of Benz and all the visitors going to Chaudière will be happy to know that the contract has been signed for doing the Chaudière Pool. It was in last year's budget, and we are going to be doing it. And I mentioned other projects, but another very important project for the Pebush constituency, long awaited, is the Calibishi Primary School. And we are happy to know that final site visits are going on, final preparatory works. I'm looking for site for dumping and all of that, so that the school will commence in the new school year, upcoming school year. And I already spoke to the Pebush water supply, which will be Calibishi Pebush water supply at a tune of 1.8 million, but that's Pebush, Dodan, Born. So Honorable Douglas has increased, Dodan and Born. PM has increased, Thibault and Pebush. Also, a 4.5 investment will be made for the enhancement of Calibishi water supply as well. And we have not left out in terms of housing. Already contracts have been signed for the Bois Mont Park housing development, and the contractors are putting up their liquor storeroom and so, and we expect works to commence shortly, while for the Simon development and Calibishi housing development, we are seeking to address the land acquisition issues to facilitate it. So we will have our own share. We are grateful for that. So I want to urge, to thank the people of my constituency, to wish them success and to encourage them to take advantage of employment and the other opportunities that are coming your way through this project. We have Kalibishi, which is a thriving agricultural community, and have been doing well, and you will do better because much is provided for you, and I know you're going to take advantage of it. So I want to thank all of the leaders, community leaders, who continue to work with me and support me, and to inform you or remind you that I love you, the constituents of Pebush, Kalibishi, Anzime, Benz, and Solda, and I'm really grateful for your continued support, but we have a lot of work to do together if you listen to all the listing in this year's budget. I thank you.
That this Honorable House be suspended until 7:15, until 8:15, sorry, Mrs. Speaker. 8:15.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be suspended until 8:50. 8:15. 8:15. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stands suspended until 8:15.